Bad Boy, one of the top record labels in the world. Sean P. Diddy Combs and Sean Burrows was arrested together years ago for a case that caught a lot of limelight. But I served time with Sean, and like I said, no matter how much money you have, how much fortune, it cannot substitute for the pain and suffering you're going to go through being away from your loved ones. All I ever heard was stories from Sean about he want to go home, he want to do the right thing, and he want to change, and which he did when he returned back to his country. Sean is now an advocate, and he's a councilman in his country, Belize. But while being incarcerated, you can see the stress and the pain in his face from being away from his family. I mean, it shows that even while he was in there, Russell Simmons gave him another deal for over $1 million. It didn't change the stress that he was going through. It didn't change the fact that he still had loved ones out there, and that he created a lot of victims that night in the club when he shot the club up. Not only the person that he shot, but the people that was just around him, the fear that he set in that whole atmosphere. He learned this lesson. He came home and he's doing the right thing. A lot of us young brothers, and when I say us, I mean me, because I know what y'all going through and how it is to be under the pressures of peer pressure, poor impulse control, and feeling like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. When you catch the case of the fuckets, that's when your life start going downhill. Sean used to spend his days in the office or in his cell. He didn't watch too much TV. He didn't come out too much. He stayed to himself. I believe that prison had played a bigger part in his mental. It kind of like bugged him out, I think, because he started acting kind of crazy to me. And that's what prison does for you. He felt that P. Diddy betrayed him, that P. Diddy snitched on him. P. Diddy got the cases separated and told. So that's why you can't believe everything you hear and everything you read and what your friends say. Yo, I love you and I'm going to be there for you. Yo, you my bro. You my brother. This is a fucking prime example of what happens. P. Diddy, one of the richest rap moguls in the world, flipped, in which he could have got shined off. He had the dream team. He had Johnny Cochran. But you know what? When it goes down, your friends ain't no longer your friends. It's all about jumping ship and every man for himself. So those of you who think that the guy that you on the corner with, smoking with, drinking with, that's your man, that's your heart, and I don't care how many loves I love you he gives you, don't mean shit. They say you know who your true friends are when you either go to jail or you in a hospital. Because that's when you know who's going to come through, who's going to come see you. Sean got a whole lot of visits from a bunch of different rappers, different artists. But every time he couldn't walk out them doors when they left that visit room. Every time he went to that goddamn machine and got something to eat, he had to go sit his ass back down in that seat with his legs under that table and continue being an inmate. He was no longer Sean. He was so messed up in the head that he changed his name from Sean to Moses Levi. He didn't even want his name no more. He didn't even want to be attached to that rap artist that he was. He didn't even want his own name, Sean Burrows. I tell you today and I tell you again, no matter how much money you got, no matter how good you think you are, how much you think you're doing in prison, your best day in prison can outdo your worst day in the streets. He would have gave up anything for his freedom. The millions of dollars, the visits, the friends, the fortune, the fame, he would have gave up every dime for that shit. You'll see it with all the other rappers. I'm just giving y'all the rappers of my time. Now, when you go to prison, this is a man who was a legend. His name was Caballo. So all you young Dominican brothers, DP and all these different Dominican games, this is the legend. This is the godfather of it all. He's the one that created it. He held his own in prison. Caballo went to prison with no more than 5 years. When I met him, he had over 10 years in. Caballo was a legend because he used to tie his arm up to the gate, give you a knife, he'd take a knife and say, come on, let's fight. He knew martial arts. He was a good friend, but at the same time, he was a beast in them yards. But I guarantee this, he would have gave up anything for his freedom. He was deported back to DR, in which he was murdered. But he's one of the reasons why Latinos can live in prison with honor and with respect, because he made a way. You know, mostly Dominicans. And I tell you the story about this man is because to show you that you can go to prison with 1 year, with 2 years, and ended up doing 15 and 20 years. This man is a prime example of that. You go to prison and not do the right thing, get your head right, you get caught up with gangs. Well, he created the gang. You get caught up with that, you get caught up with drugs, you get caught up with the limelight and still thinking like a criminal and doing criminal activity. That white man he gonna put it to you. Then at the end of the day, guess what happened? He get deported back to his country. Served all that time, you get deported and you get murdered because you take that same criminal mentality home. They're not playing out there in DR. They're not playing in the mother countries. This man walked the yard alone. He didn't need nothing. He didn't need nobody. He had respect, but he had the wrong respect. And that's not the respect y'all are looking for. That's not the respect that you need. To ask the question, do you rather be loved or you rather be feared? Let that soak in for a minute. Y'all think about that. This man was feared and he was loved by some, but the same ones that loved him would have took his head off if they had the opportunity. So you know my words to you. Stay out that white man prison. Stay out that goddamn white man prison.